Good evening, bonsoir à tous. Well, this is unbelievable. Firstly, to be back at the PAO to the closing dinner, which is exactly where I was last year. It is a great honor and privilege, and I want to say thank you to the executive of the PAO, to Mark, to Tim, and to the entire board. I want to acknowledge the chiefs and the command leaders that are here, and Deputy Chief, and those who are our host city in Windsor. Thank you for hosting us today. I want to also say hello to Shelley and the Soul Ladies. I thought I was just seeing Shelley tonight, but you've got a whole table there. It's amazing, Shelley. You are just an inspiration for all of us. I want to acknowledge all the other special guests. And I have this speech here, which I'm going to open up and then probably close. But what I want to say to everyone here is to give a retrospective on just how important the relationship is with our government led by Premier Ford. I want to start by saying, you know, just about a month ago I got a call and they said you're getting a new parliamentary assistant. And I said, I need somebody that can run quickly and drive all over Ontario and try to be my stunt double so that people won't know I'm not at an event. And I want to say how great it is to have Graham McGregor. He is absolutely tremendous. And Graham, since you're exactly half my age, we'll need you to run double as quick as I can go, so you got your work cut out. So I want to give everyone here in this room a bit of a retrospective of what the last year looked like, and where we are today, and where we're going. And I want to specifically tie it into the relationship. I would say the unbelievable relationship that Premier Ford and I and the Government of Ontario has with the PAO. Mark is right. Seconds after I was sworn in, and by the way, it is an honor of a lifetime to serve in public office. It's something that Graham and I treat very seriously, absolutely every day, because we follow in the footsteps of the Premier. We are here to serve. We are not here to be served. And that meant, and the tap that I got from Mark seconds after I was sworn in as Solicitor General was to say hello and to introduce me to the PAO. And the first thing he said is, come to the golf tournament, it's Monday. And I said, I feel a bit guilty. I mean, that's my first full day of work. I was sworn in 11 o'clock on a Friday, and Mark says, that's okay, that's when our golf tournament is. And I came out and I met many of you for my very first time. I wanted to understand as quick as possible what was the special relationship that existed between the PAO and Doug Ford. And later that day, when I was at the golf tournament, the Premier said to me very clearly, the relationship with the PAO, with the OPPA, and with the TPS is something that's probably one of the most important relationships. And you add to that the Association of Chiefs of Police, and we're delighted that representatives are here. The President is here tonight, Chief Jim McSween, my friend from York Region. We look at these relationships as to how important it is for a government to work collegially, constructively, and respectfully. My dad teaches me if you want respect, you have to give respect. And so began our journey together. And I made a point of calling Mark probably once a week, sometimes more than once a week, many times just to check in, always to ask, how are the members doing? Is there anything that I can do? So let me give you a few snippets of what the last year looked like since we were last together. Early in 2023, the Premier recognized the importance of public safety in our lives. And I've said this many times, we all have this right, each of us, those who have been in Ontario for generations and those who arrive today. We have this equal right to live safely in our own homes and communities, to see our kids off to school safely, to check in on our parents and our loved ones, go to work, to shop, to play, and to pray. And this inherent right to live safely is something that we can't take for granted, because you, members of the PAO, and your associations allow us to do these things. And early in the year, the Premier said, Michael, in the eyes of the public, and he was absolutely right, public safety is a top priority. And it's something that we will tackle head on this year. And we did a number of amazing things. The first thing we did, and I think it was absolutely great, is we said we've had enough of these violent offenders causing and wreaking havoc on our streets. And we came out with a major investment, over $112 million, to get these violent repeat offenders off our streets and to advocate to the federal government, change the laws. We don't want this revolving door. If some of you remember, well, some of you like me who remember an old presidential campaign with Michael Dukakis against President Bush Sr. in 1988, there was this picture of a person in a revolving door in a prison in the States. That's not what we want here. And under Premier Ford, we're never going to have that here. The second, thank you. The second pillar was something that was affecting you every day. How many calls are we getting, Chief McSween or Chief Trong or Deputy Chief here in Windsor, of cars that are being stolen, by doors that are being knocked in at 5 in the morning, and people demanded to hand over their keys, and we said, that's not going to fly. We came out with a $51 million plan to fight auto theft head on, to give the police services, like here in Windsor, the resources, the extra resources they need to fight auto theft and to break it up. And thank you. And I went to Ottawa, Chief McSween, we were in Ottawa, and we sat around the table at the National Auto Theft Summit, and all I asked was one thing to the federal government: stepping up at the borders, stepping up right here in Windsor, stepping up at the rail yards, stepping up at the intermodals, because that's where our cars are going out, and have the same respect for the inspection of outbound cargo as you do for inbound cargo, and I'm working on it. I was with the Prime Minister and the Premier this morning in Toronto, and I use every opportunity to echo that message, that public safety matters. And the last thing we did of this first 3 pillars is something that again affects the PAO in a very positive way. So the Premier calls me one night and he said, what do you think about the tuition at the Ontario Police College? I said, it's a lot of money. And it's a deterrent for people that want to become police officers but can't come up with the $17,000. It's an impediment. I think we should lower it. And the Premier said, and Graham knows, don't lower it, get rid of it. And within months, I said to him, the Premier, I said, if you want to get rid of it, I need something too. I want to drastically expand the number of cadets that are coming through the Ontario Police College so that they can go to municipal, First Nations, and OPP, and they can serve the communities to keep us safe. And we had an ambitious target. We'll bring in 4 classes instead of 3. And I'll basically move the numbers up as high as we can so that every spot, every available inch of space at the Ontario Police College is filled by people that want to serve their province. And that's exactly what we did. And in a matter of months, we made it happen. And just next June 14th, we'll have our next class. And Mark, you'll be there, and representatives from the PAO, and John from the OPPA, and David, and the other John from the Toronto Police Association will be there to welcome the newest people coming out. That's another commitment that Premier Ford made. But I want to tell you something that's even more personal than that, because on each of those 3 announcements, Mark and the PAO were there. The PAO were our partners in announcing this. But I want to tell you something even more impressive. You have to go back to 1990, and some of you were police officers in 1990. In 1990, Bob Ray's government introduced the Police Service Act, the PSA. And Chief McSween, and you know this, that act did its time. It was like a tire whose tread was falling off. And Minister Sylvia Jones, our great Deputy Premier, had the vision to envision a piece of legislation that would be a hallmark piece of legislation for our generation, for now. And the Community Safety and Policing Act came alive. I was born on April the 1st when it was proclaimed and enacted. It happened because we had such engaging conversations with the associations, especially the PAO and the OPPA and the TPA, and the Chiefs Association as well. And they weren't easy. There were conflicting interests on many issues, on many regulations, on many components of the legislation that we had to bring forward. Early into the job, somebody said to me, it's still going to take years. It's a car that still has to go through testing, and we don't want to launch it until we're ready. And I remember being in Thunder Bay, and the representatives of Thunder Bay who are here, and I want to thank you. I made the announcement in Thunder Bay, we will sail this ship in 1 year. And that was first quarter of 2023. And Premier Ford's government delivered this. When we brought it forward on April the 1st this year, I want to also acknowledge the amazing team at Soljet. Both our incredible Deputy Minister responsible for Public Safety, Mario Di Tommaso, but my Chief of Staff, and our Director of Policy, who's here tonight, Peter Copeland, and people in my office that steward the conversations with the stakeholders. And you know, I was proud when Mark was there and the representatives from the PAO were there before April to say, we got it done. Promises made, promises were kept. And today we're going forward. We're going to go forward with more ambitious things that we will do in the future. But one thing will never change. It was one of the first things the Premier said to me, and then I said to Graham the day that Graham got promoted to Parliamentary Assistant to the Solicitor General. I said, we will always have the backs of everyone that keeps us safe. I remember the Premier sitting me down in his office a couple of days after I was sworn in. It was like drinking from a fire hose. I was plucked from another lane of life, and I was determined to make a difference and to have Premier Ford's back, morning, noon, and night, and to respect everyone that keeps Ontario safe. And that's exactly what I did. And today, thank you. And today, I am so grateful. I'm grateful that the ladies from Seoul are here. But I'm also grateful to the presidents, to the local presidents, who I've had the chance to visit. I'm grateful to Matt at Sudbury. When I went to visit the command leaders at Sudbury just last summer, I was kicked out of the headquarters because they said I didn't have an appointment. So I called Mark and I said, Mark, who's the president here? Mark got him to come out in the parking lot, and I got to go in to see everybody in the great Sudbury service. I want to thank them. And I've been to Kingston, and I've been down to the mechanics garage to meet Al, and I know I'm very proud. I'm going to be in Kingston in about a week's time. I'm going to go back out to see them. But everyone here, every time I've had an honor to go to a police service represented by the PAO, the first calls I make are to the local presidents. I want to understand what's going on in the police service. And since many of you are here, for those that I have not yet had the opportunity to visit, I made a few commitments last day with the fire chiefs that I'd be on move again. Well, you know, we'll be Batman and Robin, and Brad and I are going to be out to cover and to crisscross Ontario, and I might add, Chief McSween, at very safe speeds to make sure that we visit absolutely everyone. From one of the smallest services, and Mark, you've got a great representative there, Adam from Niagara Parks Police, one of my favorite services because If you want to see something, just see the view they get to look at every day to really everywhere in Ontario. This has been an honor of a lifetime. I'm here to serve, and by serving, you can be assured that Graham and Premier Ford will have your backs day and night. That's my absolute commitment to you. It is ironclad, and whatever we can do as a government to enhance, to take to a new level this relationship that we have with the PAO, we will. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.